Hey, what's going on, guys? Paddles Way. Today we're doing a bit of a different video today. If you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing as it helps me out tremendously. Today we're going to be talking about why Rocksteady or someone needs to make a Superman game. Now, preferably, I would like for Rocksteady to make a Superman game, or someone like WB Montreal to make a Superman game set in the Arkhamverse, as I feel like a Superman game sequel as a follow-up to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League will be the perfect thing that we could get from a fan's perspective. Now, and honestly, in my opinion, I've thought about this after a while, a Batman game, a Justice League game, Superman game, what would be the next best thing? And in my opinion, and also you guys may not agree with me, but as always, I would like for you guys to respect my opinion and to keep in mind to just keep comments respectful, because obviously when I upload Suicide Squad videos, the comments can be a little weird sometimes. People like to leave hate comments, and now have some of my subscribers, comment, and it's just a big problem. So just want to keep comments in this video respectful. But back to what I was saying, I think the next game should be Superman, and I think Superman would be really, really good, an Arkhamverse Superman game. And honestly, the way I see it is if we look back in 2011 and 2013, Warner Brothers gave WB Montreal the opportunity to make Batman Arkham Origins. Now, Arkham Origins has a lot of issues, whether or not it's canon, but after I think this game kind of solidifies that Arkham Origins is canon in some way, although there's a lot of problems, much like this game, that leads to it just doesn't make sense to why it's canon. Now, why am I bringing up Batman Arkham Origins? I think it would be perfect to allow a smaller company like WB Montreal, or maybe I'm not calling WB Montreal a smaller company, but a small company or a company like WB Montreal to focus and make a Superman game that's connected to the Arkhamverse, much like what they did for Batman Arkham Origins. And then that allows Rocksteady to make the next game in the series. For example, that could be Justice League or a Batman game. And basically, sort of like after Arkham City, we got Batman Arkham Origins, and then 2 years later, in 2015, we got Batman Arkham Knight. And for example, we can say now, let's say, hey, 2027, we get Superman, and then 2030, we get Justice League or Batman game. And it will be, honestly, it would set up perfectly, and I think it would give the fans a lot to basically be excited for. Because although I myself am not big on Superman, I feel like we need a game, especially at this point. We sort of need a game that everyone would like and everyone want. And obviously, at the end of the day, we still want a good game. But I think it would be the perfect opportunity to make a Superman game, especially following up from the events of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. A Superman game that consists of Superman trying to rebuild the trust of the people of Metropolis, especially after he slaughtered thousands of people in the events of this game because he was corrupted by Brainiac. Obviously, we know that Lex Luthor, I guess Earth 1 Luthor, won't be the main villain because he died in the main story, and it doesn't seem like Lex 2 has any motive to be a villain. And then obviously we know that Brainiac will no longer be a threat. So who would be the villain of this Superman game? Well, there's a lot of options that we could go with, starting out with Darkseid, Doomsday, Parasite, just to name a few, and even Bizarro or General Zod, just to be the main villain of the game. And then obviously have some side characters to build, side villains to build the game and help sort of bridge it, because also too, it would have to connect to the Justice League at some point, and maybe even have a few Justice League members make an appearance, or they just stay at the Hall of Justice and we see them referenced, and maybe they're off doing their own thing. Because I've even brought up the point how making a Justice League game prequel that's set with their battle against the Sinestro Corps would be great as well, because it's mentioned in the game. But I feel like it's time to say, hey, a Superman game would be great. Now, and obviously, like what I've said time and time again in my last video, talking about what should be next after Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, we all know that Rocksteady is making a single-player, story-based game that we can only assume is set in the DC, and a sequel or a prequel to this game. But like today, I feel like a lot of fans, we either want Batman or Superman. And I think it's time to sort of give Superman his credit and his time basically to shine. I know we've had a ton of Batman games, and don't get me wrong, I certainly would love a Batman game, even if Rocksteady doesn't make a Superman game. Even if a Superman game comes out and it's not connected to the Arkhamverse, I feel like it's just time for Superman to get a game of some sort. We all know that we're getting a Wonder Woman game here soon, which people are saying, is it connected to the Arkhamverse? I don't think it is at all, and also too, I don't even really know when that game's coming out, if it is coming out. But back to what I was saying, Superman game that we would assume, would be set in the Arkhamverse and a sequel to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League would be really the perfect follow-up for this game as Superman tries to regain and build the trust of, his once great city. And this game, although I don't know much about game development, I know from back in the day, Arkham Origins, when WB Montreal made that game, they took all of the assets and reused it to create Arkham Origins. Rocksteady could easily do that with their assets from Metropolis because although people like to give Metropolis, don't really say it would work for a Superman landscape, they could always expand and build upon it. A war-torn, ravaged Metropolis that's basically recovering from Brainiac's invasion could be a nice landscape for Superman and would obviously make the most sense. And it would probably give them time to make a game very quickly that maybe isn't as expensive as a game like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Obviously, we know this is all hypothetical, and I don't really know much about game development, so don't take my word for it. I could be completely wrong on this subject, but if they were to reuse assets for this game, from this game, which is totally possible, they could probably make a Superman game in a realistic time frame, and then after that follow up with a Justice League game or a Batman game. That's why I brought up, hey, maybe let WB Montreal or another company take over the reins, because it seems like the Arkhamverse isn't done yet, because we're obviously getting the VR game prequel, I believe, in December. So, Warner Brothers could easily let someone take the reins and make a sequel or follow-up to Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League while Rocksteady, or maybe even a prequel, it doesn't really matter, while Rocksteady works on the next big thing. Now, with the Superman game, there's a lot of things they can do. They've already introduced so many different Superman characters in Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League that, it kind of feels like a Superman game, which is why a lot of people brought up the original controversy that this game was a canceled Superman game. Obviously, we know that that holds no truth, but we know, hey, they could reuse these assets, these characters, these historic landmarks, really everything, to create a Superman game. And they wouldn't have to create one from the ground up. They could start basically with what they have now and just build upon it. And obviously, the story is pretty simple. It's just Superman rebuilding the trust of Metropolis. Maybe a new villain tries to take over once Brainiac is no longer a real threat and tries to basically, squeeze his way into becoming the next great threat, whoever that could be. Darkseid, Doomsday, Parasite, maybe General Zod invades, we really don't know. Or heck, maybe even Bizarro, and then through that, Superman would have to defeat this villain, and then obviously he builds up the trust of the people of Metropolis, because although people like to give this game a tough time, which I totally understand, obviously I respect everyone's opinions online, and I understand that, hey, this game isn't for everybody, but for me personally, I would like to see an expansion of this game. I would like to see what's next, and even a Justice League game of trying to rebuild the trust of people and basically reestablish themselves as heroes, because we all know that realistically, after this game is finished, everyone is going to view them as villains, and they're going to have to build their trust again, because people won't forget, hey, for a couple months you guys were just slaughtering innocent people, and our once greatest heroes became our once greatest villains. Obviously, they were corrupted and they weren't in the right mind, but it's hard to convince civilians that, and it's hard to sway public opinion, especially after doing something so horrific. And I think it would just be a great follow-up or a great build-up, which is why too, just a Justice League game or Superman game next in the series would be so awesome, because although I do want a Batman game, I feel like Superman or Justice League right now would make the most sense, and then maybe introduce the idea of Terry McGinnis in 2060 Gotham, and make a Batman Beyond game, because that's what a lot of fans have wanted too. Obviously, as we're approaching the end here, this is all hypothetical. I want to hear what you guys think. I honestly would love a Superman game next, even if it's made by WB Montreal or made by an entirely different company. And even if it's not set in the Arkhamverse, I would love to have a Superman game. I think it's, this is basically the perfect time to make a game that everyone will most likely enjoy and everyone has been asking for a very long time. And, Warner Brothers, whether or not they sell off their assets to different companies, everyone brought up the idea of Batman, the next Batman game being PS5 exclusive. If PlayStation tries to buy, DC, or I really don't know how that stuff works, but basically like what I was saying, I think now is the perfect time to make a Superman game. Obviously, Suicide Squad, although I love this game dearly, it was a financial flop. And if Warner Brothers decides, hey, we want to make a Superman game or a Justice League game next, I think that would be the best way to basically rebuild their reputation and start fresh. Is this game going to get a sequel or a prequel? Is the Arkhamverse going to continue? I think that's true, because even James Gunn confirmed that even this game being a financial flop and a complete disaster, there is no signs of the Arkhamverse slowing down. It seems like they're going to be expanding upon that for years to come and sort of just milking off the Arkhamverse continuity, which obviously makes a lot of sense because everyone loves the Arkhamverse. But, we got to be realistic about it too. We want actual games that we want, because although I like what I said, I love Suicide Squad, I never wanted this game. I was on the board of, hey, give me a Batman game, or give me Superman, give me Justice League. But here we are now, in almost finished up with 2024, and we're approaching the end of Suicide Squad, so, we got to ask that next question, like what I said in my previous video. What is next? And basically, from my perspective and, being a fan of the Arkham series, I think Superman would honestly be the perfect thing. And it could be that bridge to basically regain the trust of fans and Warner Brothers. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. As always, please consider liking and subscribing. Peace out.